Mayor Cabaldon is here to just make a few remarks. We kept him busy all morning because governing and AARP hosted a forum this morning for local leaders to talk about affordable housing and transportation. And so he's probably about ready to for a siesta, right? No, you're good? Good to go? But we appreciate your graciousness in coming to kick this off. We have a new partnership with the City of West Sacramento. AARP has a network of age-friendly communities. The World Health Organization also has a network, and we're the U.S. affiliate for the World Health Organization's network. And West Sacramento, this morning, we presented their certificate. They completed their application, which the mayor signed, and are enrolled. And he probably has a few thoughts about what the city's going to be doing, already doing, actually, in that arena. So please join me in welcoming Mayor Cabaldon.
Thanks so much, Nancy. Welcome all to our community center. This was our center includes both our senior center, the first senior center we built as a city, as well as the flagship of our universal preschool system, both under the same roof. But we're really glad that you're here at the community center. We did have a great session this morning with many elected officials and commissioners and other policymakers from throughout the region, and we're thrilled in West Sacramento to be helping to advance this partnership, both in our community, in our region, in California as a whole, and across the globe in partnership with the World Health Organization. So it's a really exciting time. I actually wanted to focus mainly in a couple of remarks around the index and its power and why it's so important that you're participating in this work and that Rodney's going to lead through this conversation. Because we're thinking about the right set of policy strategies, and we have to get outside of the boxes that we're used to. Right. So right now we're thinking about what are the issues for seniors that are facing us at this particular second, and how do we redesign our whole community around these questions? And it's a challenge for any of us, because if we had done this 10 years ago or 15 years ago, we would have had a top-level recommendation: make sure that there are phone booths spaced appropriately along our main arterials, right? In order to maximize communication, sort of a call box system. It would have been, if one of you had said at that time, well, we won't need any of them, actually. We don't need to triple the number of phone booths along the main arterial. We need to eliminate the ones that are left or convert them to Wi-Fi hotspots or something else. Same with the call box system. So as we're thinking about the rapid changes in demography, in technology, in the composition of the senior population, but also the long transition of aging itself. I said this morning, stopping thinking about becoming a senior being something that happens on a Tuesday at 5 o'clock when you turn 50 exactly, and the day before that you weren't a senior, but thinking about that whole entire transitional process. So I would encourage all of us to start thinking, okay, just pick a lane. Say, okay, in a world where Amazon is delivering goods same day by drone, what implications does that have for aging and the built environment and social and economic environment? In a world where people of all ages, but seniors in particular, can operate home-based businesses that are much more elaborate and large in scale because of the access to Etsy or to same-day shipping or to a wide variety of options, what does that imply for living in place and the kinds of home-based businesses that we might be thinking about? In a world where Uber and Lyft are adapting faster than we can imagine, where there are 17 flavors of Uber around the world, so whether it's People's Uber in Beijing because it's communist, or whether it's Uber XL in Beverly Hills, or Uber Lux, the notion of an Uber paratransit a year from now is not a difficult thing to imagine. So, but we have to imagine it. We can't simply project on what we know are the needs today. So, a central theme of this project, for at least in our community, is going to be trying to project forward and play futurist at the same time that we are redesigning our community today. And it's why the metrics and the frameworks and the index become so important, because we're not really measuring ourselves against just a set of actions that might have made sense based on a set of policy recommendations from 2 years ago in a university study. We do care about those, by the way, but because we need an index to measure our actual progress in terms of outcomes, in terms of the social, emotional, physical, economic, cultural health and vitality of our population as we age. Those are going to be really critical. And so using the index, embedding it in our decisions, and using it as a way to frame our outcomes is really a central part of this work, and it's why we were so excited to sign up into the network of age-friendly communities, not just as another set of objectives that we hope to achieve, but with real plans, real timeframes, real accountability, real mechanisms for checking how we're doing, and for of course changing course when we make mistakes or when new opportunities arise. So the index is really important. I think it's especially important in this region for us to help AARP tune the index. This is a region, unlike New York or Los Angeles or San Francisco or San Diego, some of the other metros in our state and our country that are in the network. This is mainly a federation of smaller cities. Even the massive city of Sacramento is really a relatively small city on the national scale. And so what these dimensions look like in a community, in a place like ours, might be different. In fact, it will be. I already know it will be. I've had some early stage conversations about some of the indicators and how we might think of how they might translate differently in a small town. I'll give you an example. In our city, we're 54,000 people. We still act in many ways like we're the 25,000 person city that incorporated in 1987. But if you are interested in becoming engaged and you want to, get involved in some social change or environmental change or some issue in the community, unlike in Oakland, you wouldn't necessarily join or create a brand new organization to do that. You wouldn't think I need to go, if I'm going to go to the city council or the board of supervisors, I need to join some, the West Sacramento League of people who care about bicycling or whatever. You go because you know that your high school geometry teacher is now on the city council, and they'll just recognize you. You're speaking as neighbors, as family members, as folks in a social fabric that in some sense either predates or transcends, depending on your evolutionary perspective, this notion that all of our engagement is mediated by intermediary organizations. So, for example, you'll hear about one of the dimensions in the index is the number of organizations or something, civic organizations per capita, I think, and we don't score well on that. Actually, neither does anyone else in the region. We're way below national average, and it's caused me to do some thinking, and I hope it will too for you. Think about, well, why is that? Are we just completely deficient in civic engagement, or is the form of that engagement different here than it might be in Philadelphia? Has California or the West developed different ways of engaging? Maybe not. But we ought to be thinking, as we're looking at these indicators, to use them as a way to hold ourselves accountable, to think about what they really mean and what they imply in terms of what our values are. So I hope you'll think about issues as that. I think overall the index is excellent. And one of the things I love about it, we just talked about this earlier, is that it has so many indicators that none of them become warping in their impact. None of them are so. If there was only 2 indicators, and you're like, well, it's all going to be based on sidewalk width. Well, okay, we would have really wide sidewalks and we would forget about social isolation and everything else. And so the number of indicators means that even if you don't get every single indicator exactly right, that's not really the point. It's really directional in telling us, are we getting better? Are we doing a better job of serving aging in place in our community? So that's one element. The other is just a pure technical issue, which is that for smaller cities, the data sets that AARP has had to work with are extraordinarily limited in their availability. So if you look at if you come over to the station that I didn't knock over and check on your local community in the region, chances are it's not a good chunk of the data, maybe most of the data, is not actually from your local community. So for example, here in West Sacramento, most of the indicators are either at the county level or at the metropolitan statistical area level. A few are at the community level. So our ability to move the needle in terms of changes is limited by how fast can we make Davis and Woodland and Winters and Clarksburg and Esparto and Dunnigan. How fast can we bring them along with us? But it may also mask deficiencies that we don't know that we have. Right? If we think we've got really great things going on, but it's really stuff that's happening in Davis down the road, it's an artifact of the data and not of reality. And so what we can do is help AARP, I think, through both SACOG and some of our other collaboratives, and the emerging open data movement that many jurisdictions in the region are starting to latch onto, that we can help AARP to help other smaller places that aren't full metropolitan statistical areas or aren't entire counties to be able to really make this tool as useful broadly or universally around America as it can possibly be. So we have some great opportunities here and also an opportunity to make an impact both in our own community and around the region, but really on this whole initiative as it spreads across the country. So I know it's hot today, and thanks for spending the afternoon with us. We really, really, and truly appreciate you putting the time to make it work. It's really essential. For policymakers like me, the era when there were like 3 or 4 seniors that were the fount of all input, that we would say, well, oh, so Rodney, you're our senior. What do you think about everything in the city? And the era where we would if Rodney got up and declared and said, well, I'm 72 and on behalf of all seniors, I am now saying this must be what happens. That era has to end. We don't treat any other dimension of our population in that way, where we segment even their engagement, even their politics, even their perspective into just a few truth tellers, special seers that are supposed to give us all the answers. We need metrics. We need new ways of engagement that will draw out the aspirations, the pain points, the hopes, the challenges and opportunities from our population at all ages, so that we can incorporate them into really innovative policy solutions and practical solutions on the ground that will make this truly an age-friendly community. So thanks for being a part of today.